March, so pretty much a year ago, I started this new role as a multicultural coordinator for the department. So now I get to work with all the different units within it. One of the main projects that I work with is Es Mi Parque. It's a program that we do at 6 different parks throughout the state. All these parks are very heavily influenced by the Latino community, and that's pretty much who's bringing in our main revenue. But nothing was being done for customer service and trying to let the community feel welcome and invited of being there. So now I'm going to pass it down. Everybody's going to introduce themselves and give a little bit of bio about themselves.
My name is Denisse Guitarra. I'm the new Maryland conservation advocate here at ANS. I'm originally from Ecuador. I have a background in the biological sciences. I've been mainly involved with bird research and bird conservation, and I'm very excited to be here at this panel and kind of give my youth perspective on the challenges of being a young environmentalist. Also a first generation environmentalist and first generation of actually graduating college and graduate school as well. And yeah, I'll pass it on to the next.
Hello everybody, good afternoon. My name is Yaseen Sanchez. I'm a crew leader with River Corps by way of LAYC in DC. And I started my environmental work journey with MCCC, that's Montgomery County Conservation Corps. It was like a joint GED and environmental work program. So pretty much that's where it's all started for me. I started that at the age of 18, and I'm still here now at the age of 24, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else.
Juan Lazo with Environmental Leadership Program and formerly with U.S. Forest Service. My work is primarily managing youth programs through different nonprofits, different local organizations, and delivering relevant programming for youth. And I've had the pleasure of working with LAYC as well. So I'm really excited to see the fruits of kind of programs that we're helping deliver through not only land management agencies, but also through local organizations. So I'm really happy to be here and share my experience.
So for those that don't know, what is LYC?
LAYC is a Latin American Youth Center. We've got centers in DC and Maryland pretty much, so we work with the DMV area. Yeah, so we have programs in housing, environmental work, youth programs like from ages of I know in the basement, 3 days a week they do something for ages between like preteens to right before I guess from 13 to 18. So pretty much we cover everything. Even people who can't get enough food, we help out all over. So, yeah.
So what first sparked your love for science and the environment, and what made you realize that this could be a career?
Well, for me, I always knew. My family used to call me Nature Boy. When I was 4 years old, I had a pet ant. So I always had a love for it, growing up watching National Geographic. It always wows me. Even now, David Attenborough, he's like an inspiration to me. His documentaries are great. I studied on my free time. So to actually get to work in it, it was I guess it was like a mind-blowing thing, but it was a process. It wasn't like the first day I was like, wow, this is great. But as I went into it over time, I realized that not only is it good for the environment, but it's also good for myself. It's like a soul healing type of work, And sometimes I walk past certain trees that I planted, and I don't have any kids, but it makes you feel like a proud parent or something. So it touches my soul. That's that's how I got into it. That's why I'm still in it right now.
I think that question I've been answering more and more over the past couple of years. A couple of weeks ago, I took my parents out to the National Forest for the first time. And I had been working for the Forest Service for about a year. And I took my mom and my dad out. And my dad said, you can drive, right? So I kind of became a chauffeur, and I became the guide, and I became very much the person in charge. I think it's a different role that I was playing now with my parents. And I was the youngest of three, and I think that duty was always relegated to my oldest sister. And I saw my parents become kids again when they got there and they started to take off their shoes because they wanted to feel the dirt under them. And they went to the stream and they talked about how as they were kids, they would do this all the time, and the rocks are only found near the rivers and trees, why they grow the same way that they do. And then I said, this wasn't really about me going to school and learning about environmental studies. This was about me seeing the day-to-day about my parents. And so I think that answer for me, I haven't really found it yet, and I don't really understand what drove me to it, but I think I had this inkling of I want to do it because it seems that I need to do it. And I think it kind of looks differently for everybody, but I think this kind of sense of I want to be where I feel most comfortable, and for me that's outside. And I think a lot of it has to do with how I grew up, even if it wasn't specifically said you should be outside. I think it's just something that I really enjoy. So I think I'm still answering it, and it's an exciting journey for me.
Mm-hmm. Wow, some amazing stories. For me personally, I was born in Ecuador, and then my mom was actually born in a province that's very close to the Amazon rainforest, the province of Loja. And she would tell me all these stories about growing up in the middle of the rainforest and talking to the Shuars, the indigenous native people. And I just found it so fascinating. And because we came to this country, we immigrated to this country, I didn't really have that experience that she had growing up in Ecuador in the rainforest. So I always try to reconnect to nature via my mom's stories. And I would go out and I just go on hikes. Later in college, I got into bird watching, and that way I was able to connect to not only like the local birding community, but also learn about different challenges that different communities around the world are facing, and also to see how birds are very important to the daily lives of many people.
Mine was a little bit like that. So I grew up in Colombia, in Bogota, and it was a big city, but we would get to go to my grandparents' farm, and that's kind of where I found like myself when I could walk away and really enjoy nature and kind of explore. And when I was back to the city, it felt a little suffocating for me. So once we moved to the U.S. when I was 9, that's kind of when I realized that was more my speed, was being outside, exploring, kind of playing, like to discover that I didn't realize how much I was learning at the time. And then I ended up studying wildlife ecology and management, and that's kind of how I got into all of this roles. When you were younger, what did you expect to be when you grew up? Did you have this image of what you are and where you are now?
Yeah, around 8 years old, I saw my first volcano explosion right at the back of my house, and it was such a clear blue sky, and then all of a sudden I see this like mushroom cloud appearing out of the mouth of the volcano. And from there I was like, I wasn't intimidated by nature, I was actually like astonished. I was like, oh, I want to be a volcano expert. But then I like fell in love with other types of science, and eventually I fell in love with birds and conservation. So yeah, it's a different, completely path. Along the way, I also thought about becoming an astronaut. But so yeah, I mean, it's just like life happens, and then it takes you a different route, really.
Growing up, my mother was in the military, so we grew up around a lot of, Navy officials and stuff like that, and I wanted to be a pilot. Yeah, I mean, I still wouldn't mind being a pilot, but I'll get around to it. But I guess growing up, I never really had actually, I wanted to be a veterinarian, so I guess I always wanted to work with life in one way or another. But that was between the age, real young until I got to 12, and then beyond that, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just too busy enjoying myself. I guess I wouldn't say that I'm surprised that I'm doing what I am doing now, because I feel like like really my job just describes who I am as an individual. Like a lot of times my friends, I think they like it more when I'm not around because I'm the one who's always like, guys, it would be great if we did this. And I'm like, let's do it. I'm trying to lead them into things that like, bro, we just want to chill and play Xbox, you know, calm down. Yeah, I'm not surprised, but I am happy where I am.
So what do you look for from an employer when you are looking for jobs?
I think more and more now, I'm looking for an opportunity to speak about my experiences. And so I think the question earlier in a different panel was, what if you don't have the skills that people are looking for, right? I think for many people who are beginning their careers, especially in the natural resources field, it's hard for me to come in and say I have 3, 4, 5 years in management or research when in college there wasn't those opportunities all the time. And it was really competitive, right? And so you're working very much uphill. And so when you get there, you talk about the things that you have done, and you hope that whoever is going to hire you, hopefully, can appreciate those experiences. In my case, I was fortunate enough to come into a place where they said that they wanted someone who had experience with people, right? And it was with the U.S. Forest Service. I have experience with people, but I don't have experience with nature. And so I think that was kind of an opportunity for me to say, people care about these skills, and they want me to be engaged in this and learn along the process. And I think that part has been really fundamental for me in finding that next job, which is people who want to grow together. I think that's one of the things that goes into also diversity of a workplace, of actually finding people who may not necessarily fit the bill exactly, but have the potential to grow into it and make that position their own. So that's kind of what I look for in employers, and thank you, ELP, for hiring me. I appreciate that.
So before things end pretty quickly, does anybody have any questions for our panel members? Or maybe some words of advice that you wish you knew within your early 20s?
How are they getting their friends to stop playing with the Xbox and go do stuff that will actually help the planet? So how are they making that happen?
So I think young people naturally have a lot of energy, and sometimes I think that they actually, you know, they sit on their butts because their minds aren't open to a lot of these resources. So I guess for me, my way of doing it with my friends, pretty much just whenever I'm with them, if I'm out, I'll point out things that I've learned, teach it to them. But I work with youth anyway, so when they come into it, a lot of times they're only looking for a check. So what I do is I try to, this is my own way of it, I try to bring it around to them to let them see that pretty much everything is full circle. And when they see how the environment in turn ends up affecting them, they kind of have no choice but to be, you know, because humans, we're selfish. So we don't really care until it comes when we're like, oh, it's affecting me too? Oh my God, let me get in it. You know, and the whole global warming thing is a big push for people my age because pretty much we don't have a future if we don't resolve these issues. So, you know, if people are older and they know they're kind of on the way out the door, you know, I'm sorry if that's harsh. But, you know, for the younger people, it's a real issue, and for a lot of people who complain there's no opportunity, this is an opportunity, and this is a place for us to represent ourselves and to be who we want to be and to make a change.
So as one of those elders, my question to you guys is, what have you done to work with our generation to get us to open our eyes? I mean, I'm out there with fourth graders doing natural history hikes at Great Falls and trying to do technically STEM stuff, but really just hikes and teaching them what there is out there. But what are you guys doing to reach out to us to make sure that we don't leave a bad legacy to you?
I think I could speak up for that. At least in my hobbies of bird watching, it's a lot of elderly people going on bird watch. And what I do is, like, I've made myself part of those groups, so that age is not a limit. It's actually it brings in more diversity. So I think this whole conference today was about bringing cultural diversity, but there has to be diversity between ages as well, and also making it accessible for the younger generations too that communicate through social media. I think making any event available for all ages and all languages, I think it's what will drive a lot of movements to come together.
Don't worry, we have one more question.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So this is a big idea question. So my question is, what do you think is the role of young Latinx green leaders in regards to other minorities like African Americans and the LGBTQ? I work with older Latinos. I have found that there is a lot of um, perception. So about like other minorities, and I feel like maybe that's a barrier instead of like being united.
I'll tell you this: our role is to continue being who we are, but so like I know what you're saying. There's a perception around, oh, they don't really care, they're rowdy, they're hard to get along with. Well, okay, that might be true. It depends on how you're looking at it. But I guess our role is to not to change ourselves, but to change the perceptions through which people see us, but to continue making an impact on the environment and doing good with our work. And I'm here to basically show the youth that you can be comfortable in your own skin. Be who you want to, be who you are, but do good while you be who you are, pretty much. I'm not trying to change anybody, just let them see that they can change the world being who they are. They don't have to change themselves to change the world. They can change the world being who they are.
And I think it was said best earlier when somebody said to lift as you rise. So just because we're considered Latino leaders and youth leaders, with that comes a little bit of responsibility of, okay, now we got to a spot that we have a space, where our voices are being heard. This is a big deal for us to be in front of you guys. And now who can we bring along with us? And the next person latch on to the next one until that ladder keeps going up and up. So all the millennials and everybody starting out, whether you're not, maybe you switch careers, to look for a mentor that's really gonna get you at a personal level and professionally, and can really help to pull you up, and take notes on how they did that to you and how you can do that to the next person. And we were talking about making partnerships. So I think it's important to highlight the partnerships that have been able to be made already. I know even the people here that I've met at different events have become very important partnerships, like Corazon Latino, Patapsco Heritage Greenway, Hispanic Access Foundation, National Park Service, Chesapeake Conservation. Once you find one, they have their own connections. So don't just latch onto them, but ask them what their network is and go to their network, and they have more people, so keep it going. Again, it's just a giant ladder. It ends up being a pretty small world, so we can all help each other. So, thank you.